Okay, good
Why
afternoon.
has he got a Kiwi accent?
We are here on a very special day because Carrie has said yes to saying yes to this beautiful little interaction between us and co-creation around sharing your perspective of the quantum healing pathways. So, welcome, Carrie. Um, we started only in July the 4th was your first session, and we're just over that date 2 months later in September. And this is a really beautiful opportunity to share your growth and your journey so far of how you've found this quantum energy healing work. So, welcome. Thank you
Thank
for
you.
being here. Okay, so I've just written a couple of notes, and this was from our last integration call just a couple of days ago. When I asked you what was your perspective on the quantum healing pathway, you said you're guided on a bespoke journey and a journey of deep self discovery. It's basically limitless on what you can work on. And it's so unique because everyone's journey is uniquely different. And those words were just like so magical. So there we go. I've planted some seeds. So let's talk about from your perspective, what were the challenges that you were personally hitting in your daily life and your experience that kind of made you say yes to wanting to explore this whole type of.
I I felt like it was interesting actually because I had felt like I was needing to do something like this, but I didn't know what this was until I went to have some waxing done. And it was my waxing therapist who we were having a conversation, and I said, I just feel like I'm pulling baggage, a massive sack of baggage of my whole life around with me, and it's heavy and it's draining, and I just want to get rid of it. And she said, well, I know somebody who, like, you should go and see John. And I'd never heard of what you did before. I'd never didn't have a clue. But it felt like I was guided to you by somebody. And that's where it started. But I felt like I was pulling around baggage of my life. I felt sort of like there was a something at my core, like a darkness at my core. And do you remember when I bought that picture that I drew for you of all my different, how I felt, my different emotions? There was a darkness at my core, but there was also something that felt like it wanted to come out, that wanted to sort of, that there was something there. So it was a drive towards it. Loop thinking, guilt over divorce, guilt over my child leaving them in the UK and coming to New Zealand, hypersensitive over my daughter's friendships and things like that. I just felt like there was everything had come to a head. Everything wasn't going to get better in the way that I was living.
Beautiful. So some awareness was coming online. That's kind of what you're explaining, isn't it? That emotional baggage eventually becomes too much, and our kind of soul sort of pulls on the anchors and says, "Hold on, wait a minute. Like we know you want to go forward with these dreams and ambitions, but we've got to take a little bit of a look around what's already happened in your life and what we maybe haven't had the tools or the time or the support to process." Would that be a good way to articulate it?
Yeah. I mean,
Mm.
I'd done Reiki, I'd been to counseling, I tried Bowen therapy, lots of different things. I've always sought to sort of improve, like to try and enhance and improve, but none of it did what I needed it to do. And it was all still there. And so when I started with you, it I didn't know if I was removing something or adding something. I didn't really understand what I was doing, but I knew I had to shift something. It was just a sort of innate feeling I needed to shift something. And there were as I mentioned, there was lots and lots of different things that were triggering me. Even the Saturday morning syndrome, which is what I'm going to call it now, Saturday morning syndrome, where I would wake up and feel the need to clean and to sort of be have my role affirmed, and my daughter was not at school, my partner was not at work, and suddenly Saturdays became extremely stressful because I didn't know how to be within the family. So even that, I didn't even know that was a thing until I articulated it with you as being a thing
Mm.
and realized it was something I could do something about. So it just felt like my cup was full, but not in a positive way. It was just layers and layers and layers and layers of negative life had just built up like a plaque, and I was completely smothered. That's how it felt.
Amazing. What an amazing description. Just for if I was to verbally explain that very first session. So Carrie had you intuitively created this amazing diagram where you were at the center of it as kind of like the stick figure person version of you, but all around you, you so intuitively explained. You're like, that's the. I remember you saying that was the dark side and the heavy side on the masculine shoulder, and that's dad's energy. And over here, this is where the part of me like there was all these different components that you had so beautifully articulated through this visual. And even in the core, I remember there was that spider, right? There was that spider energy that you'd drawn in your sacral around your creativity, and there was some stuff around the heart from memory as well. And I was so blown away because your soul was just so speaking through that first image, and that was our very first interaction of the first session. And I'm like, this is amazing because I'm a visual person and I love being creative. But just to see that you were truly actually in touch with what your soul was saying. And I knew that with that level of connection within yourself, I just had to nurture that and help you understand that that actually is your like kind of your inner voice or your soul speaking. And so, that was I knew right from the start that that was meant to be. That was before you'd started that pathway, because I think it was a session that you were trying before the pathway began. But there was something special already there, and I knew if we could nurture that, then we've got some really powerful intuition and awareness that's going to come online.
Yeah, it was it was just something I had to draw to try and explain how I felt because I was so the I was so smothered that I didn't know who I was. It was like I felt like I was lots of different people. I had different sort of reactions to all these different things, and they were so extreme. And actually, I think I knew they're all part of me, but they all felt completely extreme, like they were all extended. Like, does that make sense? It was,
Not really embodied. They were kind of stretching you in different directions, weren't they? And in different experiences.
yeah. And that was where and it was that I needed to sort of get on top of because I'm 50, so all of my friends, everyone's talking about menopause and perimenopause and hormones and rage and things. So I knew that there was a possibility of that being something to do with it, but it felt far more extreme. It felt like I shouldn't be reacting like this to these different situations. I shouldn't be feeling so overwhelmed. I shouldn't be feeling so chaotic in my response to things. And it's like when a system is overloaded, it
Yeah,
doesn't operate in any area. And I've drawn another picture for you, a midway picture, and
amazing.
I'm gonna do an end of pathway picture as well, so we can
Yep.
see that we can
Thank
see
you.
how that yeah, we can see how that sort of has shifted and moved. But it was just, I think it was me trying to understand me and trying to sort of see, yeah, like I'm not operating properly here.
It's so funny because I was going to ask you, can you please do a end of pathway picture for us, like literally 10 seconds ago when you were speaking. So that's okay. Here's a checkpoint because we're just over halfway, which is 2 months. So basically, that's three of the in-person, like the 2 hour quantum healing sessions, which I call the soul ascension sessions, and then we've had weekly integration calls as well. For what do you notice about the picture of you before you started to the picture of you now at this halfway mark? If you were to,
I'll show you the halfway picture when I come and see you next time because it's not completely done. But they're very different. The first one is very busy and very hectic, and the page is full, and you
yep,
don't know where to look first. And the second one is it's much more linear. It's much more sort of, yeah, it sort of makes sense of it. It's very hard to explain, but I think, the thing is with the actual sessions, the healing sessions, did you want me to talk about
yeah,
the
let's go and talk about it because if for someone that say never experienced, I mean, you talked about Reiki and other energy healings and Bowen and that sort of thing, and these are all beautiful modalities in their own right. Um, I work very differently. I combine like a toolkit of multiple different modalities dealing with mind, body, and spirit as a complete whole. So it'd be really cool to hear your experience for someone that's maybe never experienced any form of healing or might be scared of even how do I navigate into that space of accessing information. What would you love to share about how you found the sessions?
So I've been to, as you said, I've sort of experienced a few different therapies. So I sort of going into a space and having someone sort of be hands-on and things that wasn't something I was really concerned about. But what hit me about the first time I came into my healing session was the space itself is like a cocoon.
Yeah,
It's amazing. It's really it feels like a safe space, a healing space, but it's a sort of it's a space that doesn't dictate. It's very neutral. So you feel very like held in it and very sort of cozy and but not overwhelmed by what you feel like should be happening to you. It's
cool.
like it feels like your blank space where whatever you're going to do is going to happen basically. And I think the tones you like that the grays and the blacks help with that.
Mm. How did you, from first session in, how did you find the empathic and intuitive reflection? Like kind of how I use my gifts and I guess that strong understanding of manifestation and law of attraction versus what your challenges are that you came in with. How did you find that process of kind of someone, I guess, energetically tuning and kind of knowing and helping articulate that back to you? How did you find that process? Because it's quite unique in terms of we're kind of downloading from your higher mind, we're bringing the information through, and then we're trying to deliver it in a way that's kind of digestible for you. How
I
have you
found,
found that process?
yeah, I found it. I mean, I'm being open to to whatever it was going to be. I didn't really know what to expect, but I think what I experienced was that it is, as we sort of keep using the word unique and bespoke, but it really, really is because you sit down, you have the body map, and you note down what you're feeling in that moment, like what you're picking up on, like
Yeah.
physical manifestations of what I'm feeling. So that's the start of it. It's that you're experiencing some of the physical things that I'm experiencing, and you're noting stuff down, and we're discussing maybe stuff that's happened in the past, but also stuff that's happening in the present. So it feels like that foundation for the session is sort of being laid out in the moment, in the now, in and then whatever I'm seeing or articulating to you while I'm in the healing space, sort of inside my head, is also being dealt with as it goes. It's not there's not a prescription for it. There's not like a sort of a contents page where you sort of do this, and this. It's all very much ad hoc and it sort of as I tell you something, you then do something else, or there's and then you smell an amazing like smell of like sort of healing oils, or there's the sound bowl, or there's the
Mhm.
crystals, and it's all happening. So it's very it's quite it's magical and it's but it's just it feels very like you've got someone going on a journey with you in exactly how you're feeling it, not someone dictating how you should be feeling.
Mm. And that's the part that I've, I guess, struggled to articulate is whatever you feel, I feel. So it's kind of like we're on this journey together where we're getting to see this beautiful movie unfold, or say in a child moment or a past life regression even. And it's quite a unique feeling, I guess, from my perspective too, because you're getting to feel, and within feeling and energy, there's information because light is information. So as we open up more awareness and expand the amount of, I guess, information related to a particular question that we have, you never know where we're going. It's just like there's this full trust in our souls and spirits and even our helpers that we're going to be guided to exactly the right moment that we need to get to related to today's power blocks in today's session.
And that's what always used to, I think, I mean, I could talk about every single session, but that it was sort of that would be a lot of information, but each session I had no idea what was going to come out of it, but always what came out of it was what needed to come out of it. And whenever I went down the corridor and went into a room or gave you a number or an age or a photograph, it always made sense of the physical sensations I was experiencing. And sometimes I was experiencing them before I even knew what it was we were looking for.
Right.
And I think the strongest example of that was the backs of my legs. So we'd had sessions where I'd felt a pull on my ankle or both ankles being pulled, and we never had a situation where I had the same physical experiences on each session. So I knew it was authentic and unique. It wasn't when I'm feeling relaxed, I feel like that. Each time it was different, but it was the sensation of feeling like there was a darkness in me that I couldn't tell whether it was empty or full when going back to the age of 5,
Mm.
and then regressing back to that point and not being able to visualize any sort of photograph, and having had the sort of the feeling on the backs of my legs, like the backs of my legs were aching for no reason, and then remembering my mum smacking me, having
Right.
me overhead, smacking me really, really hard on my back, my my bottom and the backs of my legs for something that I couldn't even remember. Even in the session, I still can't remember what it was for. Um, but that sort of whole experience had affected all of my life, because I'd done something wrong. I didn't know what I'd done wrong, and I really didn't want to ever do whatever it was I did again to have that sort of reaction. And it had fed so much of my life, but I didn't know. And so it was a sort of, I would end up being in a situation whereas if I think I'd done something wrong, I'd catastrophize and get stressed, because if I don't figure it out, I'm going to end up being
Right.
punished.
Right, and those mirrors of reflection we call them, right? Because the law of attraction's responding to not what we think we want out of our current situation, but it's always responding to the creations of the subconscious mind, which is like sort of 85 to 90% of our daily rituals and routines are driven by our subconscious mind, not what we mentally consciously want to project onto something. So that how did you find that relationship between uncovering the root cause of that feeling and that emotion to what was playing out like even right now or over the last kind of 3 to 5 years kind of thing?
So I think it's not necessarily that when you have the session, you feel the difference.
Hmm,
It's when you encounter a situation, you react differently to it. So
beautiful.
it's a sort of there's like a solidness there that wasn't there before, that was maybe blocked, that's been uncovered and repaired. And I think I notice it when I approach a situation where normally I'd maybe panic or catastrophize or stress out, like, oh, this is all going to go wrong. I'm maybe not feeling like that now. I'm seeing it much more methodical and like seeing the steps of it, because I know I'll get there eventually, and there's no fear of the end result, which would be I'm being punished and I don't know why,
Right,
because we've sort of removed it. We've removed that punishment that was in my memory, in my physical memory, all of that time. And it's that for most of the sessions, whatever comes up in them, it's not in that moment that I necessarily feel a difference. It's what I then do afterwards.
right. And that's how we would probably explain the quantum shifts. There's a version of you, like, because you've got 50 years worth of data of this is how I've been operating and believing and say showing up at say friendship groups or social circles or partnerships, our perceptions of our own children that might be overseas, and but that emotional trigger that impacts us on a daily basis, it's really visceral and profound, hey? Like it can have a massive impact on our life when we're trying to step forward into being this new version of ourselves, but we don't really know necessarily where the root cause of that energy or where that even belief first started. That, whether it's people pleasing, whether it's looking for validation, whether it's fear of expression or sharing your creative gifts. These are what we call power blocks. There's a reason and there's a root cause where they've come from. But the beauty is reverse engineering, I guess we'll call it, where you look at what's happening right now. Like, what's the triggers on today's session or from our integration calls? Let's follow that back in related to one of these power blocks. And so that's that beautiful quantum jump where there's a version of you that was operating on that old system and those old programs that was full up and carrying the baggage. Then there's the version of you that jumps where they're no longer triggered by that same conversation or no longer needing to people please with friendship groups or whatever it might be.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think it's yeah, and it never ceased to amaze me with the sessions though, or the integration calls, that things would happen that were like for example, I think one of our first integration calls, I called you and the sound didn't work.
That's right.
And I and the look on your face, because I couldn't hear you, but you looked I felt like you looked really annoyed, and I was really worried that I'd annoyed you
Right.
because I'd get it wrong and I'm not technical and I don't understand what I'm doing. So just the fact that that didn't work brought up within me that absolute, like I completely just lose it. And that happened before we did that session
Right.
about the speaking. So I feel quite differently now, that if something technical goes wrong, it's almost like, well, it's not my forte. Hey ho, let's just deal with it. But in that moment, in that integration call, I was terrified that I
Mm.
had screwed everything up.
And not only that, before that, like before you started the pathway, when you had your overseas trip, remember the timings. It kept dropping out, and then I think we had the power cut at one of them as
Yeah.
well. And so we could see, well, from an outside stepping back perspective, we could see that things were manifesting, but we needed to uncover like why. And as we've gone along and done the clearing, our um, information and technology based communications got clearer. We've stuck more to times and timings. And the way that you show up is profoundly different as well, like not taking it so personally. And, yeah, like that's it, not taking it personally, being more carefree about others' opinions or challenges that are outside of your control.
Yeah. And I think I base a lot of what I do in trying to avoid that feeling, that feeling of getting it wrong. I spend a lot of my time trying to avoid it. And I put myself in positions of people pleasing and discomfort to avoid it, as opposed to, acknowledging that it isn't really my fault, but and actually believing that. And now that we've had that session that has removed that inherent feeling that I've done something and that I'm a bad person, it's really helped. But yeah, it's not until you approach a situation and see that you're behaving differently that you really see the true power of it.
For sure. Amazing. Is there any other really meaningful moments? Like what's another standout moment for you? Because so for anyone that hasn't experienced the soul ascension sessions, basically we can go anywhere. Like time is not really relative, whether it's a past life, whether it's an inner child or a teenage moment or a later adult experience with relationships. We can basically navigate anywhere because your body has all the information in it. And that's a really profound understanding in itself. Is there any other sessions that really, really stood out to you, kind of on a real heart emotional level that you've found a really big shift in?
I think probably the last one that we did was the most memorable, in the sense that I had the sensation of feeling like I was falling when I was lying on the table, like I was falling to the left. And then I got very, very dizzy, like I was being hung upside down, and my ankles had that same feeling. And we were trying to work out where I was, what timeline it was it day or night? And there was a figure in front of me that I could describe. And they were bearded and they were wearing white and like a sort of like an almost Arab, a sort of, I can't explain, but almost like something out of The Alchemist, like a tribal attire. And you asked me, and I kept seeing this person, and I couldn't tell. And I think initially I felt like it was the person who was doing whatever was happening to me. But then it was very obvious that it wasn't, because I was hanging upside down, but I was seeing the person the same, that they were standing up. So they were in the same position as me, so they couldn't be doing it to me. And then I realized that the face was you. And that was the most profound moment for me, because I felt like all of these sessions you've been guiding and you've been helping, and in that regression you were also my guide from whenever it was or wherever it was. And it's not something that happens every time, and it's not. And I was first, when you said what does the person look like, I sort of, I batted the idea away that it could be you, because that was just really random. It didn't make any sense, but it kept coming back, and there it was, and that was really obvious. And I just felt in that moment that whatever we were doing, whatever we were working on, there was a real synchronicity to it. There was, it made sense to me that if we are sort of jumping through timelines and fixing things, and that would make it makes total sense
Right.
that you were there.
Yes.
But that was the first. It is quite profound, really. It's a sort of it's a strange thing to explain, but it is really what happened.
But it's like without that, because a lot of your sessions have had quite visceral feelings, like whether it's emotional releases or body pains or stiff or backpacks on the shoulders, heart walls, all that kind of stuff. Like we've been energetically working on peeling off these layers that have been in your auric field. But that is the truth, isn't it? Because where you're going back as your greatest guide with me, and you're going back to help understand, reframe, and release stories, and to forgive people, and to let go of old energetic attachment, to say past lives or inner child moments. And that's really, I guess, the profound message that I want to share with the world as well through these sessions and through meeting amazing people like you. is to help us understand how powerful we are. Like, as these multidimensional beings, we can go, when we work from your power of now, which is all there is, we can go anywhere and
Yeah.
help and restructure and reframe. And then I feel like there's a sense of, once we come out of that, say, earlier chapter in the book, your now chapter shifts. As you said, you notice a shift, you'll turn up in the same way, or you'll have a connection with your son or daughter, and it will be different. Um, yeah.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I notice how I interact with my daughter, my partner, even situations like the PTA. Like I'm on the PTA, I'm treasurer for the PTA, and it's a it's a minefield of emotional turbulence most of the time. But how I approach that now has changed.
Mm,
I sort of I feel very authentic in my interactions with people in a way that I didn't before, and I'm starting to trust that my feeling about something is okay to have that feeling, whether it's good or bad. Like you said, after one session, you can unapologetically just say no to things you don't want to do, and it's learning that you can say no. It's learning that you can say yes. It's feeling like you can be you
mm,
is it sounds crazy that even we would need to even explore that idea, but we get so bogged down with what other people want us to be right from the beginning. Teachers, parents, society, they want us to be something, they want us to fit in a box because it works, but it's not who you authentically necessarily are. And it's
amazing.
that it's being that, but still being a good interactive soul. Like you don't want to be authentically just go out and destroy everything because that's your desire. You want to sort of work with everything, but as you.
It's so cool. Like, on that note, I wrote down another one of your quotes. And you made a remark about, after seeing and being in these sessions, I could never ever start a war or go to war. Like, just because it's like, once you've got a kind of, I guess, a bit of a connection to that higher energy, like, that's what I mean. This is what humanity needs, right? You'd never want to harm or hurt or put down someone else, because it's like, you feel there's a deeper sense of reconnection that happens, and a knowing that, whoa, we are all connected on some level.
And
Yeah.
the people who are out there doing all these things, they have a lot of power blocks. They have power blocks, and it's like nobody comes into the world wanting to do that
Mm,
much harm.
mm,
They can't. But the I remember feeling incredibly angry with the world and with myself before I started this journey. Like really like, where is this rage coming from? Is it hormones? Is it this? Is it that? Is it the divorce? And feeling really unhappy and really like uncomfortable in my own skin. So I can understand how you can get to that point where you want to lash out and deflect that. But once you start stripping it away, there isn't the intensity anymore. There's no desire to do anything. There's just it just I say to my daughter if she gets picked on at school or bullied, I just say, unhappy people is that person is unhappy because only unhappy people want to cause pain.
mm.
You don't, when you're feeling good and you're feeling grounded and solid, you don't want to cause pain to anyone
Right,
because
for
you're
sure.
not feeling pain. So
Right.
it's a sort of when you strip it all away, and that process can be painful because you're dealing with lots of painful topics sometimes. But when you strip it away, what's underneath is just a sort of is fundamentally is good. It's light.
Right. Your true essence.
Yeah.
So you've amazingly touched on so many of your power blocks, or were our key intentions for your 4 month pathway. And some of them were around authentic expression and feeling confident and safe to speak your truth. We're building trust in your own intuition and learning to feel your emotions but not get knocked down by them. So, more using it as a guidance system rather than feeling like a victim to that. Another key concept that I feel would be really beautiful to talk about is relationship mirrors. So, I kind of put that concept in front of you that everyone around us is a mirror of something that we need to kind of heal or integrate, or a perspective that needs resolving within ourselves. Are you open to talking a little bit about your beautiful dynamic with your kids, and how you noticed those mirrors and those triggers came up, and kind of where we navigated to release like what was being shown, like through your amazing daughter, or because there's been such a beautiful mirror that,
Yeah,
yeah.
no, Kiki, yeah, I can talk about Kiki quite a lot because because she's a girl and I'm a girl, with my son it was quite different. He's a different character and he went to a different school. And he was just always in amongst a group of friends. He was just, that's always his thing. He was pretty easy to parent, and other parents and play dates and stuff. It was already straightforward. Whereas with Kiki, she's quite she's a child who's really, she's very strong in what she wants to do, and that's not a bad thing. But because of that, she's the opposite to me. She's not a people pleaser. She does her thing. She is rough around the edges sometimes, and she sometimes doesn't, when she isn't included or invited to something, I feel really, really upset for her. It really breaks me. But that's me, that's my experience of being excluded, it's not hers. And I found myself wanting her to sort of almost change her personality to sort of, in order, you need to be integrated, so therefore you need to people please and you need to sell yourself. And this crazy idea that if you're noticed and included, that you're validated, and that just discounts all of the things that make you an individual and your own person. And maybe these kids that she's excluded from, she doesn't particularly like, and it doesn't matter to her. But as a parent, I just felt that, and I, through all these pathways, I have managed to, that has been one of the things that has really helped, is that sort of removing, she's how she is interacting is her life, it's her journey. But what it's bringing up for me is my need to mend the moments that happened to me on my journey.
Right.
And the more I mend, the less I mind. And the less I mind, the more she does integrate herself in a way that is authentic to her.
Mm. And I think that's so relatable because as a parent, and for anyone, especially mums, there's such a divine heart connection, or anyone that's of a empathic or compassionate nature. We always want to say keep our kids safe or protected, or to make sure that they're being accepted and not being left out. But that relationship mirror was really, really powerful through Kiki and yourself. Hey, one moment, it's going to jump this. Sorry. Yeah,
I don't know.
that reflection though, that gift that my son taught me at a very young age, like that's now something that I almost use with every client, especially if they're a parent, because once you know that it's there and it's an actual a mechanism that the soul knows what your challenges are and have come in underneath you to help be a mirror of anything that we kind of didn't sort on the adult level or maybe from our upbringing in childhood. That's a really powerful space to have that understanding and awareness within you now.
Yeah,
Yeah. So,
yeah. And I think it's a funny, because there's a saying just came to me that I've often heard in my life, which is that things annoy you in other people because that they are, the things that annoy you in other people are often what you do yourself, and you get annoyed with it because, and actually that's a sort of an example of a mirror. That's a very sort of basic saying, but it's basically saying that when you see yourself acted out in someone else, you want to shut it down and then it annoys you. But instead of dealing with yourself, you deal with that person. And actually, and that is the mirror, isn't it? That's
yeah,
the, but
it's
what,
powerful.
and this whole pathway has been about, and that comes back to what I was saying. You don't want to cause conflict when you realize a lot of what you're projecting out is the conflict, and it's the conflict with yourself, and you're projecting it out, and then you want to hurt that person because they're displaying it, but actually it's always there. And if you can mend it there is no conflict,
So,
is
from
there?
a parent perspective, what would you say to parents out there that have got like young children or coming into like birthing a child and they're getting really triggered and that sort of thing? What would you say to parents out there that are in that struggle street where they're hitting their childhood imprints, their programs of what their parents pass on to them? Like, is this a helpful process?
Yeah, like unbelievably helpful. And I think, it makes me feel quite sad that I've lost a lot of my kids' childhood in the fact that I've feel like I've lost some of it, because I was so in, like, wanting to sort of reenact maybe how I'd been brought up, or sort of following that path, and it's a destructive path. And I have consciously with my son tried to go against how I remember my father parenting me, as a sort of like, no, I'm not going to do it like that, I'm not going to do it like that. But I think inevitably you do fall into those traps. And I think there's a lot of pressure. We pressure each other, parents pressure each other in terms of from the moment they're born, it's like who's walking first, who's talking first, who's eating solids first. It all becomes like a big, and actually they're every single child is this unique gift that comes in with whatever it's going to do. And if everyone was the same and did things the same, we would be a herd of cows.
Mm.
We wouldn't be the human race with all our inventions and we wouldn't be like that. We would be much more, we would be the same, wouldn't we?
Absolutely. Yep. There's no growth in the same. If everything's just vanilla and we all look identical and act identical, there's no true growth and expansion on a soul level. So, it's one of the I guess higher lessons and contracts that we even have with our children and our partners. Like, not every partner is a partner that we stay with forever and ever. Some of them are really challenging, confrontational soulmates that really are that shadow and mirror of reflection of what we need to like unearth within ourselves in terms of limiting beliefs or ancestral line beliefs that have been passed down from like mum and grandma, or or even our own soul's memories. So yeah, it's very powerful when we step in, when we reclaim the captaincy seat and we say, I'm unapologetically going to start to consciously create my life. And that means I'm willing to look at what programs and what ideas that I have been operating and living my life on, what's no longer serving me, and what do I want to change in order to cross this bridge, which is like this quantum pathway journey of crossing this kind of valley. So yeah, that's so well
Now I
led.
find um smiling at Kiki now, whereas normally I would sort of think, oh, Kiki, you need to, what you're wearing isn't right, or you're not slotting in. I find myself smiling now because that is her. And she wants to, on Daffodil Day, when everyone wore yellow, she wore bright colours and flowers. And that was what she wanted to do. She didn't want to find something yellow. She wanted to wear bright colours and flowers. And that's cool. And we were up at the school and they've got this massive digital display that they put all the school notices on outside the front of the school, and they put photographs of the kids from various things. And we were walking the dogs the other day and we walked past and Keith and I said, I wonder who we're going to see, because they flick through the photos and Kiki was there, and a massive photo of Kiki came onto the screen with her flowers and her bright colour from Daffodil Day, smiling and laughing. And I just thought, had I stopped her from wearing that, and or had a thing about her not wearing the yellow and had a problem before school and a confrontation, that photo of that smiling happy child who was wearing what she wanted to wear wouldn't exist. And that's it, isn't it? It's there was Kiki being Kiki.
Yep, a beacon of authentic expression, which was exactly who you needed as the mirror to work out where you weren't given that permission, or where that was shut down. Okay,
Yeah.
I would love to this is going so beautifully well. I would love to talk to you about how we shifted the energy and how you've reconnected with your magical of writing. Like the time, the dedication, the feeling of energy within you. Do you want to explain really quickly like what you were working on before the pathway, like years ago when you started your book, and
Yeah,
how?
so yeah. So I've always had this idea of a story, and I started writing it quite like the idea came to me years ago. I mean, I'm talking like 15 to 20 years ago. And I've always loved writing poetry, and I've always written bits of poetry and stuff, and I've enjoyed it. I've never really given myself the opportunity to really have some time to write. And in lockdown in 2020, and I was actually looking at the chapters yesterday. I was going through some of the chapters and it shows on the computer when it was created. And one of the chapters I was working on was created in 2020, but obviously I'm finishing it off now. So that's 4 years. And I started it in lockdown. I had like 3 weeks where I sort of started writing it. And then it's been little bits here and there. And then at the beginning of this year, we had New Year, and the family, we all say to each other in the family, what are our challenges for this year? And mine was going to be, I'm going to write my book. I'm going to do it. I'm going to write my book. And so I did start writing it at the beginning of the year, and I've sort of gradually built up to it. But it was these sessions that have really given me the permission to take time away from the family, to take time away from the evenings. It's like instead of snatching moments to do it, I've now made it my priority. And I think I've sort of the belief in being able to do it and the enjoyment in it has been quite profound.
Mm, mm.
It's like a sort of it started to feel like it's starting to write itself,
Yeah.
if that makes any sense.
You had a profound shift because I remember specifically the regression that we did back to when you want to become a vet and like study. And we were identifying what were the core power blocks, especially within your sacral, your heart, and your voice, around what experiences that you had that shut your expression or blocked your expression, or your belief system that says, I can't follow my dreams and passions. And, do you mind talking about that? Like the actual impact points of what you experienced, which actually created the blocks that was kind of really stopping you from stepping into your full kind of energetic flow, so to speak.
Yeah, so I wanted to be a vet nurse when I was 16, and my parents said, no, you can't. There's no money in it. Go and do your A levels. In England, A levels are the qualifications that come after GCSEs, the things you take to go and then do a degree. And I really wanted to be a vet nurse. I wanted to leave school at 16 and be a vet nurse. That's what I really wanted to do. And I wasn't allowed to. And that sort of set me up for then through a lot of my life, feeling that feeling of excitement, being in my element, like something I really enjoyed, but discounting it because it wasn't gonna the greater good of my life, which really I don't know what that was, but seemingly everyone had an idea of what that was going to be, um, meant discounting that feeling because it was frivolous, it was self-indulgent. You have to earn money, you have to be successful doing something you don't love, but that will make you successful. And so I can remember lots of points in my life where I ignored that feeling. And then, like the vet nursing, it was there present in my life a long time afterwards, sort of nagging away at me like a regret, like a big regret. And this book would, if I hadn't, I'm now doing it now. Now I can't stop. And that would have been a massive regret. But equally, that feeling of being excited about wanting to go and write on a Saturday afternoon and then feeling guilty because my partner and my child are around, but my partner saying, yes, go and do it. I still battle with myself because that feeling I get of wanting to write is the same as the one of wanting to be a vet nurse, like excited, like I can do this. This is what I really want to do. So when I feel it now, I feel bad. Like, oh, I shouldn't be doing this. I should be doing something productive. There's no money in it. The same voice. It's that sort of thing. And so no one's telling me that, but I'm saying it to myself.
Right.
So these
Awesome.
sessions have really helped me to move it. They've really helped me to move past that. And it's strong and it's really entrenched and it does sometimes still come up, but I'm able to move past it.
Right. And we're just over halfway too. So to see all of these amazing changes, and as soon as you, because I remember the integration call, because we're both quite creative in our own rights, and I remember just having that juicy call around kids' books and characters and stories and writing and books that we've read and stuff, and you could feel in that call the energy that was flowing through to say green light, green light, green light, like was just immense. And then you just went to it. Like, the Saturday morning jobs is no longer an issue. You're like, I unapologetically like just started scripting today and writing more of the story and the more chapters that just seem to be flowing through you. So that creative flow state is a very, very strong indicator that you're really starting to connect into more of that higher conceptual mind that has all the ideas and all of the imagination. And as you picked up, it's always been there and it has been there for a really long time. It's just sitting in that field, waiting for your vibration to allow yourself to go and experience that experience. And so this is the real time, like, yeah, the real time shifts that you can experience.
Yeah, absolutely. And it just makes me really determined that my kids don't ever feel that they're not, I don't want them to ever think that their passion is not worthy because it's not of high monetary value. I don't want them ever to feel like that because I believe if you're good at something and you love doing it, you'll make a success of it, whatever that is, and you'll make, it's far better to have a lower salary doing something you love than a higher salary doing something that bores you to tears.
Right?
You know,
Or we could create a third option, say I get paid abundantly well for doing my passion. Because there's many book writers out there like J.K. Rowling and stuff like that that just started on a whim, like were rejected multiple times until they're not. And then there's 13 films later or something like that. Like it's just, it's amazing.
crazy, yeah, no, absolutely crazy. But in terms of my notes and things, I wrote down a few things about you were asking what I would say to people who weren't sure about
Yeah, what would you say to someone that if they'd never tried anything like energy healing or emotion code releasing, like any of the modalities? I'm not going to technically go into them. Just from your perspective, what would you say to people that have these cycles and blocks and that have never tried this pathway?
Yeah, I mean, I say if you're feeling like you're lacking in motivation of for sort of fulfilling your potential, you feel blocked, you feel like your relationships are not being enhanced, that there's a damage occurring, that the tools of what you do with this pathway is that you sort of unlock the version of you that you've always been before life's negative energy gets in the way. So you sort of, it's unique, but you just, by peeling away that energy, that negative energy, and going back to you, I sort of wrote a little, like you write some words or a sentence
Yeah,
about how you feel about this. And that my final thoughts about this is that it's necessary, it's fundamentally necessary to do this for me. And I don't want to think of what my life would be if I hadn't done this.
cool.
That makes me feel terrified that this, if I hadn't done what I've done and I'm only halfway and I was still that person that started, that makes me feel up, this is necessary. This was necessary for me.
Mm,
I
mm.
couldn't have,
And
you
it's
know.
interesting, right? We're just talking about education because we've done a lot of inner child working around schooling and education. I guess in life, we have a big surge of education at the start of our lives, and it's all about education, learning, competition, grades, all that kind of thing. But as we go through our adult or parenting life and late past teenageville, like we're not really taught about this emotional energetic intelligence or our spiritual intelligence. And I feel like we get to this point where we're like, something calls us forward to learn more about our true spiritual essence and our true creative force. Like it's not related to religion, it's not related just to science or anything. It's like a beautiful culmination or amalgamation of all of these things, and it is everything. But like you said, we forget it. We've got so many layers of life that are built on top of our true essence. And you're right, that is my goal. That's why originally I was kind of given that name introspect and unlock, because to be introspective means to look within side and within oneself and to unlock that power. And so, yeah, that was just a name that kind of was given to me like way back when I started. And I guess it still stands true of I don't think that will really change.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if I tell friends what I'm doing, I don't know how to explain it. All I know is that it works.
Amazing.
Simple,
Cool,
really
hun.
simple. Yeah.
Cool. Thank you so much. Even though this in itself was probably a little challenge, monumental step and moment. I'm so proud of you, and you nailed it. And that was perfect. It was so authentic and open and honest, and it's so relatable to so many of us that are having these challenges. Please know that there's tools out there, guys, that we can literally use that are holistic, energetic focused. They're not drug focused. They're not numbing focused. Yeah, it's all powerful, natural, and hopefully you'll take these with you for the rest of your life as well.
Well, yeah, it's fundamental. Like, I mean, I won't, you can't go back on it. That's the thing.
Mm,
It's not something that it's like with every session, you don't leave the session and that's it. The healing has happened. That's where it starts. It's like pressing a button on a computer, and then you continue to upgrade. And then you come to the next session, and another button is pressed, and you continue. You don't sort of come in for 2 hours, start something, stop it, and then carry on. It continues. There
mm.
is no sort of start and stop, is there?
That's what it is like this ascension stepping stones, but the ascension again, just to clarify for everyone, because there's a lot of spiritual bypassing out there, I call it, where people want something or what they want something to manifest, but they haven't actually got the learning or the understanding of that particular layer or that particular grade of the experience in order to naturally and organically step to that next vibrational set point. And so I'm not about that at all. Like, as you all know, I'm very much like, no, let's go in and honor that and reclaim that part of you and your inner child creativity and all of that. Because I truly believe that our ascension and stepping up is integrating and learning the lessons as we go. And that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. Yeah, you can't. That's why the pathway is important, because you have some of the more recent healing sessions wouldn't have been possible without the initial ones.
Mm.
That sort of, yeah.
And they
It's
accumulate, right? They all add together. I mean, some themes underarch like 3 to 4 sessions. Like if it's a big master theme, it'll some of them will play out across the whole time, and some of them will be beautiful individual points. So, um, what would you say doing a pathway versus doing, say, just an individual session and then you were left to go back to your life?
think the individual session helped me because it was I did two before I went back to the UK, and they definitely helped with what I then went and dealt with in the UK.
Mm,
But the pathway, it means you're sticking to a way of being for so long that you really have to, prior to an integration call, you're thinking about what do I want to discuss, and you're thinking about how to operate with all the tools. So it's like you're in training. You're in training
mm,
all the time.
perfect word.
Constantly, you're in a mindset where you're carrying the tools with you between each one
Mm.
and continuing to use them.
Amazing. Your intuitive awareness and your emotional awareness has become so much stronger as well. As I've been working, you've mentioned many times how quick you are to pick up on things now, or how you might just download an idea, or something came about a character, or something that excited you, and to see that passionate, intuitive flow come through you is really heartwarming. It's like it makes me emotional at times, like thinking about it, because it's you can tune into it and it's just such a loving energy that you want to share, and you're in that path of the raft is in the river and I'm no longer clinging to the rock and I'm going with the flow, and yeah, that's magical. I can't put a price on that really, like
Yeah. No,
yeah.
and I think that's what I mean is that if you were to ask me three words, it would be it's necessary, it's fundamentally necessary for me to have done this. That I can't my book that I'm writing wouldn't be the book that it is with the power blocks I had. And
Amazing.
that's really obvious from how I've changed, how I've, the characters have stayed, that they're still the same characters, it's still the same skeletal structure, but there's a different padding out that comes from more of me coming through and
Amazing.
less sort of, you know, yeah, definitely,
Profound.
definitely.
Thank you so much, Carrie. Like, thank you for being open, honest, and sharing your in progress pathway, which is really cool because I didn't wait till the end. It was really nice to have someone that's like September 2024 as we take on this final induction for the year. So thank you so much for your time. I really appreciate you.
No, that's cool. And yeah, if I've rattled on there, if there's a lot, you can do whatever you want to it. It's fine.
Keeping all, keeping all. It's made final cut.
I know I talk a lot, so I just like, but do you know what? That's been always one of my things. Like people tell me I talk too much, and maybe I just shouldn't worry because the people who don't want to listen, it's not important.
Cool. Own it, right? Cool. Thank you so much, Carrie, for that. High
Cool.
five.